Thank you so much. And it's a great honor to be here and to participate. I thank you, Ada. I thank you, Diavazontas Megalono, if I've said it correctly. And it's a privilege to have a chance to talk about this here with you and to follow this talk from my good friend, Dr. Manetti. Like Dr. Manetti, I'm a pediatrician. This is what I do. I weigh babies. I look at their skin when they have rashes, or I look in their ears when they have fever. I want to talk a little bit more with you about why when I go into a room to see a 1-month-old or a 6-month-old or a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old, I want my stethoscope, but I also want a book. So when we started doing this, and we've been doing this, I'll talk more tomorrow about the program, we've been doing it for more than 30 years. At the very beginning, we said to ourselves, if we can have more books, more reading, we will increase the language exposure that children have in their homes in the early years of life, that we will help improve the skills that they need to be ready for school, because we will promote what Dr. Manetti talked about, the serve and return, the dialogue, the question and answer. But now when we talk about it, we also talk about how those interactions, the parent holding the baby, holding the toddler, speaking in that voice that you use when you're telling a story, what we're really promoting here are the positive interactions, the good, warm, happy, language-rich moments in the day that happen for young children with their parents and their caregivers. And we're helping families build routines, for example, at bedtime, which ensure that those happy, positive, warm interactions occur every day. And in doing that, we are helping parents provide moments of security and safety, which can do so much for children. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how they can protect children even from adversity, from toxic stress, because we are helping parents provide those positive childhood experiences. So I just want to point out that it is not actually a brand new idea, that there is something beautiful about the image of a mother and a baby and a book. And I'm going to show you some examples from my personal collection of reading Madonnas, but I would point out to you that Raphael, 500 years ago, was interested in the question of where is the baby's attention, where is the baby looking, where is the mother's attention, and even though this mother and this child are not looking at each other directly, you're seeing an interaction, you're seeing a connection. If you look at the direction of the gaze, where are the baby's eyes directed, where are the mother's eyes directed, you will see that an artist hundreds of years ago was showing you the kind of connection and interaction that can happen with a book. As I say, I will show you some more images, but the program that I'm talking about, Reach Out and Read, which I will explain tomorrow in more detail, is very simple. We give advice, and our technical term for advice is anticipatory guidance. It's guidance for parents which anticipates the way that the child will develop. We give anticipatory guidance about what do you do with a book with a 6-month-old or a 9-month-old or a child maybe who doesn't have any language yet. How do you look at a book together? And with the guidance, we give a beautiful book, at every visit, at every pediatric visit. And the third component is we have activities and information in the waiting room about libraries, about reading, about adult literacy. So starting at birth and continuing until the age of 5, my job, the job of every pediatrician who's doing this, to talk with parents about how to enjoy the book with a child, to model, to show, oh, where's the baby? There's the baby. Where's the baby's nose? Where's mommy's nose? To do a little modeling in the exam room, to give the book, and to talk about how to build those moments in the day when you're together, when you're reading. And also, I get to watch what the child does with the book. If it's a 6-month-old, does he put it in his mouth right away? That's good. And I can say to the mother, that's good, that's normal, a 6-month-old who puts things in his mouth. Or maybe if it's a 2-year-old who grabs the book and tells me the name of something, I can show the parents, look, he's pointing, he's naming, this is so good. And I'll also show you pictures of what happens in the exam room. From the very beginning, this was the most important message from Reach Out and Read. Your child, your baby will love books because your baby loves you. It was always a message about the power and the strength of the parents and the parents' voice. The baby, the 1-year-old who wants you to read to her, and she follows you around the house because she doesn't have any words yet. So she follows you around the house and gives you her favorite book, and gives you her favorite book, and gives you the book until finally you read it to her. She's not asking for vocabulary practice, right? She's not worried about her skills for school. She wants your attention, your lap, your affection, your voice. So this was our message from the beginning, that your child will love books because your child loves you. And some of the other important messages for parents were, as Dr. Manetti said, the precocity from the time the baby is very young, that books and reading will help the baby enjoy time with you, that you can use them to establish routines and structures, and that those routines will give children security and help the child handle stress and challenges, and that all of this together will give your child skills that are important when it's time to start school. And then again and again, and we can't say this often enough, especially to the parents who are more vulnerable, that your baby will love books because your baby loves you, loves being with you, loves hearing your voice. When we talk to the doctors and the nurses, to the clinicians, we talk about how this helps us promote healthy development, build these language-rich positive interactions, which create the relationships that can buffer toxic stress and help you build nurturing daily routines. Books are a remarkable technology. You know this. I don't have to tell you this. You can see so much happen with books. They create opportunities for what we call lap time, time in a parent's lap, for physical affection. They create those islands of security and predictability. As Dr. Manetti said, promotes parent self-efficacy, works against parent depression, balances out screen time, and all at the time the children are developing those early language skills, and preschool language is so important. Preschool language skills predict how children will do in school, not only their reading success, but also their success in mathematics and their success more generally in school. We have a lot of research now because we've been doing this for more than 30 years. And what we find is that if we do this at every visit, starting in infancy, the parents are 2.5 times more likely to report that they read to their children. They're 2.5 times more likely to report that they enjoy reading together, that it gives them pleasure. They're twice as likely to read frequently, more than 3 times a week. And the children's language development, if we test it around 3 and 4 years of age, preschool, they are 6 months further advanced in their receptive language, the words that they understand, and they're 3 months further advanced in their expressive language, the words that they say. And we can also see that the more exposure they have to reach out and read, the bigger the improvements are. So I'll show you just 2 slides from 2 research studies. This is a study looking at how many parents report reading 3 or more days a week to their young children. And in the group that got the Reach Out and Read program, it's 66% of the parents report reading 3 or more days a week. In the control group that did not get the intervention, that just got regular pediatric care, it's 24% of the parents who are reading 3 or more days a week. And this is the language study in which we look at the receptive language and the expressive language. And this was in a group of children growing up in New York City in poverty. This was a group of high-risk children. And we saw the 6-month difference in receptive language and the 3-month difference in expressive language. So what we tried to do to help the pediatricians do this is we think about the very age-specific developmental guidance. So what do you say to the parents of a newborn? And Dr. Manetti talked about this already, that they're listening and looking and learning even when they're new, that they know your voice, so talk and read and sing and play and let your baby see your face, because your baby already knows your voice and loves your voice. The children are very cooperative. They like the books. And then, it moves on. So, for example, here's the guidance with a 2-year-old. It's about letting the child be in charge, letting the child choose the book, control the book, turn the pages. It's not about reading a story from the beginning to the end with a 2-year-old, because that's not always what a 2-year-old wants, but it's pointing to the pictures and asking questions. What's that? What does a cow say? What does a dog say? What's the boy doing? Letting the child fill in the words. So you stop and you let him tell you the name of something or the word. Choosing books about animals and books with rhymes and books that children love. And if you've ever taken care of a 2-year-old, you have to read the same book over and over and over and over until the child knows it by heart and you know it by heart and everyone in the family can recite it together. But we can also help parents see that the child who can answer questions or point to the picture is making progress, that the child is learning how to put words together, and help the parents see the effect of everything that we're doing. And then here's the 4-year-old, right? Again, we talk about letting the child choose the book, but now the child can answer more complicated questions. Not just, what does the dog say, but tell me the story. What's happening? What's that boy going to do? What's that girl going to do? They can start to pick out the letters in their own name on the page, and you can connect it to writing and drawing, and you can connect the story to your child's experience. She's feeling sad. Why is she feeling sad? What makes you feel sad? You can let the child take more and more of the power of telling the story, and you can find books about the things that the child is interested in. So if you have a child who only wants dinosaurs, you can find dinosaur books. If you have a child who only wants trucks, I have one child who only wanted trucks. Didn't matter what other books you provided, the only story he wanted to hear at night was about the trucks. I can tell you as his mother, it was unbelievably boring, but we read truck books. But so there the 4-year-olds are recognizing numbers and letters and telling you stories, and making rhymes, and you can help parents see everything that they're doing with their children together. Now, we also talk a lot about book handling skills, the difference between the 6-month-old who grabs the book with his whole fist and puts it in his mouth, and the 2-year-old who can begin to turn paper pages. And again, I just want to say that this was also of interest to artists hundreds of years ago, the question of how a child handles pages and turns pages, and the idea of giving a child the power to manipulate the book and decide what you'll do. We spend a lot of we often in my world, you have several children in the room at once, and the younger children are always interested in what the older children can do, but the older children are also interested in what the younger children can do. Now I want to talk a little bit more about the social and emotional and relational aspects of what we're doing here, beyond the language and the vocabulary, beyond the school readiness. And I want to talk a little bit about toxic stress and what can happen in families when children are growing up in difficult circumstances. We think about this like an iceberg in the picture. What you can see most clearly above the water is the language, the early literacy, the school readiness skills. But supporting all of that, keeping it afloat, are the relationships, the security, the interactions, that attention from the adults, that stimulation from the environment, and all of the underlying social and emotional development. Because young children learn everything through relationships and interactions. And as you just heard, early childhood experiences change the way that a child's brain functions, change the way that a child's brain forms. I think we heard this explained very well in the last talk. Let me say a word about toxic stress. When we talk about stress, we talk about 3 levels of stress, okay? So the first level is positive stress. Positive stress, look at me right now. I'm talking to you, you're in the audience. I hope I'm doing a good job. I'm worried about talking too long. I'm worried about talking too fast if someone is interpreting. I'm stressed. If you measure my heart rate right now, if you measure my hormones right now, you'll find stress hormones. And that's a good thing, because if I'm not stressed, I might go on talking for 2 hours, right? You want a little stress right now for me. It's a good thing. It helps me do something that's difficult to do. That's positive stress. So then the next level is tolerable stress. Something bad happens. Life is difficult. There's an obstacle, there's a problem, there's a loss, there's a death, there's an illness. That's very stressful, but if you have loving family relationships, you can help a child cope with that kind of tolerable stress. It is bad for a while, but then it gets better and you have people to help you. Toxic stress is the intense and severe stress which does not get relieved by those positive relationships. Toxic stress is a situation because of poverty, adversity, abuse, racism, difficult conditions in which a child's brain is forming, constantly affected by stress and stress hormones, by a sense of being threatened. Here are 2 different ways to visualize it. Positive stress is that activation which helps you cope with something difficult, and then you return to normal. Tolerable stress is a more significant and severe obstacle, but you have people who love you to help you over that. And toxic stress is crushing, constant stress activation without the help that you need, so that as a child, that brain that you saw in the videos is constantly affected by that sense of threat and by those stress hormones. We've talked a lot in recent years about what we call in English adverse childhood experiences, ACES, ACEs. So there are things like physical or emotional abuse or neglect, mental illness in a parent, violence in the home. And we know that these adverse experiences shape the trajectories of children's lives so that they are more likely to suffer from many physical and mental illnesses later on in life, more likely to have poor academic achievement, more likely to be at risk for substance abuse. And we've talked a great deal in the last decade in pediatrics about the adverse childhood experiences and how badly they can damage children's lives. But we haven't talked much about the positive childhood experiences and what they can do. And so I think it's very important now to remember everything we've learned about toxic stress, but to change the discussion so that we're talking more about positive experiences and how they also can shape the trajectory of children's lives. If we start measuring the positive experiences that children have, we find that they can mitigate even the severely adverse childhood experiences. This is looking at the result of depression in adulthood and finding that even children exposed to adverse experiences, if there are positive experiences for them, that changes the equation. And in fact, that positive childhood experiences can overcome the effect of adverse childhood experiences, that children can thrive even in difficult circumstances if their families can provide the positive experiences, the sense of security and reassurance. And in the statement that came out last year on childhood toxic stress from the American Academy of Pediatrics, it was about prevention. It was about partnering with families and communities to promote relational health, to promote the bonds, the experiences, the support, which can help children develop resiliency and thrive even in adverse circumstances, focusing on the safe, stable, nurturing relationships that buffer adversity and build resilience. For us in pediatrics, this is a big change in how we talk. It's talking more about strengths, how to support families, how to support parents' strengths, how to build resilience or help parents build resilience. This was this pyramid again, where you have primary interventions for everyone, and you see under that the Reach Out and Read, ROR, is the program named as a universal primary intervention, and then targeted intervention for those at higher risk, and then, as Dr. Manetti said, the treatments for people who actually have diagnoses related to toxic stress. But what we are talking about is we're talking about promoting the positive experiences for all children in order to shape the trajectory of their lives, to see the positive effects of those positive childhood experiences. Reading aloud is a very powerful positive childhood experience, and it's an experience that we can promote. We know we can do this from the evidence, that if we talk with parents about this and we give them the tools, the books, they will read to their children. We can put that positive childhood experience, we can help get it into the home. We can help get it into their daily lives. So reading aloud is a powerful positive parenting activity. You saw this list before of some of the positive parenting practices: reading a book together, storytelling, singing, family meals, turning off the television. But what we can do then is promote positive experiences which reduce the probability of those adverse outcomes, like social emotional deficits and developmental delay. So again, we want to talk more and more about the positive childhood experiences and about how we can shape or help parents shape the trajectory of children's lives with those positive experiences promoted in pediatric primary care. So Raphael again. See, now he's again always interested in the eyes and in where they're looking, and are they looking at each other or are they looking at the same place? You know this better than I do, but it's such a remarkable skill when children learn to read. So many different parts of the brain have to work together. The vision, the cognition, the memory, the phonological awareness, ba, the phonemic awareness, ba, the vocabulary, the sense of sequence, the story, the motivation. It's amazing they can do it. They can do it because their brains are better than mine. But reading aloud to a young child, we can recognize that when parents do it, it's a triumph of the spirit. It nurtures those brains during those important developmental windows. It creates the routines that give children a sense of security. It teaches children words, vocabulary, numbers, rhymes, stories, but all taught with attention and affection. And children are also learning that from books you can get pleasure, you can get information, and that your parents can help open up that whole world to you. So books are building better brains in so many different ways, with the interactions, with the serve and return that Dr. Manetti talked about, with the FaceTime and the lap time and the rituals, with the parent self-efficacy, with the exposure to print and stories and the positive associations which help you get ready for school. We're trying to help build family resiliency so that parents are engaged, they feel empowered, the environment is more stimulating, the routines are more supportive. It's a way to be more, we can show families are more likely to be at the library, they're more likely to find other programs for that cross-sector involvement, and we hope they will arrive at school loving books, loving reading, loving learning, and we even hope they'll like going to the doctor. So I said this was our most important message at the beginning. Your child will love books because your child loves you. But it's actually a more complicated message. You and your child will love looking at books together, and in fact, looking at books together will build your love. Oh, this is Botticelli. They're looking at each other. I'd like to show you just a few minutes of a training video that we made. This is, again, we're very specific. This is about what can a 6-month-old do with a book. So if you were a group of medical students or trainees in pediatrics, I would be saying to you, I want you to tell me what is his physical development, the baby? Can he sit by himself? What can he do with his hands? Where is his language? And then I want you to tell me about you don't have to do any of this, just watch it. It's a very cute baby.
Hi. Hey you, what's going on? How are you? Yes. Oh, he's smiling now, cheesing. Hey. So you see how he reacts to my voice? He's responding to my voice. So they love to do a little table tennis. I talk, he talks, I talk. I'm sure he's babbling with you now.
Always.
Are you screaming and yelling? And they love the 4 a.m. chatter. Uh-huh.
You're just up. Okay.
You're just up and playing. So it's really important at this age that we're just talking and engaging with them as much as possible.
Right.
Lots of conversation is really going to be the best way for them to develop. So it's not only, what? Tell me.
He has a lot to tell.
I see. And you know Daddy's voice. So you see how he turns to you? So he's been hearing that voice since he's been in Mommy's belly. And one day, before you know it, he'll be answering back. Yeah?
He answers back now.
Oh, you do?
He's not talkative right now.
Uh-huh. And you guys sing with him as well?
Sing, read at night.
Ooh, you like to read? That's good. I have a brand new book for you here, man. Cody, check it out. Wow. So we love the colors. Look at him reaching for it. Excellent. So at this age, they really love to touch. Gonna go right in the mouth. So it's all about touching and feeling. You see him responding to the colors. Hey. Oh, yeah. So, you know, it's not only hands and feet that go in the mouth. It's everything else as well.
got
Look at
everything in
that.
there.
And we love to look at baby faces. Is that you? Yes. What's she doing? Is she taking a bath?
Yes.
Yeah, so you can name common items that are around the house, but you can also make up stories. So it's not really so much about the words in the book, it's the conversation that he's having with you.
Everything.
Yes.
Knows how the faucet is.
Oh.
Toothbrush, toothpaste. You see that?
You like to brush your teeth?
Clean
Very
them.
good. Yeah, you like to look at yourself? Look at that. And you can kind of talk through it. Is this your nose? Is that her nose? Yeah. And her hands? Good job. So when do you typically read to him? Is it nap time, bedtime?
Mostly bedtime.
Okay.
Me and my wife, we take turns.
Excellent.
So like it'll be her night, then it's my night the next
Yes.
night. So it's been my night like 2 nights.
Uh-huh. Uh-oh. Mommy's turn. But that's good, because then he gets accustomed to reading with both of you.
His routine is like, okay, well, I'm reading, so I'm thinking it's time for me to go to sleep.
That's right. That's right. So it's a good trigger for him. And you can even do it sometimes during the day if you have time as well. It doesn't need to take a lot of time, just a few minutes, right? Just to build that comfort so that he learns to love books. So it's good to be so excited and exaggerated. Oh, look at the tree. And the tree is green. Look at that. So they really love to respond to our body language, you know? So the more we really are exaggerated, yes. And what else? We like animal sounds. What's your favorite animal? Do you like a lion? Rawr. Yeah, very good. I know. Yeah, let's see. You're okay. I'm right here. I'm right here. Let's see. Should we bring this book back in here? Here's your favorite. There you go. Look at that. You see how he calms when he's reading the book? Fantastic. Really important to wash. Yeah. Look at this color. You see this purple cabinet? Very good. Should we try and turn? He's doing awesome. You guys are doing wonderful with him.